And now with more vaccines proving their efficacy, what do we need to know about immunization? We'll get the answers from infectious disease expert, Dr. Benjamin Ko. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us. We just heard several vaccine manufacturers at various efficacy rates. Some need just one dose and the others 2 doses for inoculating a patient. So with 1 or 2 doses, can we mix and match various brands in one immunization?
Well, good evening, Rico. The answer to that question is actually simple. The interchangeability studies have not been done among these studies. So even with the current vaccines that are available in the market, there will always be interchangeability studies, because you have to remember that all of these vaccines are running on different platforms. Example, Moderna and Pfizer are running on a messenger RNA, a modified mRNA, while the vaccines of Gamaleya and CanSino and Johnson & Johnson are running on a platform of an adenovirus 5 platform. So because of the differences in the platforms, I don't think they will be interchangeable from the get-go. That means that if you get a Moderna vaccine, your second dose should be also a Moderna vaccine for the meantime.
What kind
until
of
there are
impact?
studies or interchangeability.
If but what if, let's say, one patient has vaccine A and vaccine B mixed together in one injection? Potentially, what kind of impact could this have on a person?
Well, safety would probably be one of the bigger issues rather than efficacy, because if they perform the same way in terms of efficacy, the sustainability of the immune response from one platform to a different platform may not be sustained. And then there's also the safety issue, because each of the different platforms have their own safety issues as well. And then there's also the storage of the vaccine. Like, for example, the modified RNA vaccines will require -80, and I heard that one of them will require at least -20. But if you look at all of these modified RNA preparations, they fall apart unless you keep it in a deep freezer, and that's very difficult to do, particularly in a developing country like ours, wherein deep freezing it and then putting it out into the community may be a challenge.
Can it be something similar, let's say, to a flu vaccine, wherein, let's say, we will get inoculated or immunized with one brand for the first time, and then maybe after a year, we would be immunized with vaccine B or vaccine C or vaccine D? Is that possible?
Well, that's a different story altogether, which means that if COVID is here to stay, and it will be here to stay for quite some time, you may need to get booster shots, or you may need to get re-immunized later on, maybe once a year, depending on the study results, because the print peer review has not been issued yet. I'm skeptical about the 95% efficacy. We will have to wait for the print peer review articles before we can say anything. But just like the flu vaccine, you may need to get shots annually. That's the first thing. But unlike the flu vaccine, the coronavirus it is only one viral type. The flu vaccine, unfortunately, will change in serotypes annually. So that's the reason for the change in the different types of in the change on the annual flu vaccine.
All right, we'll have to wait and see for the final trials and the research and the final results from these vaccines being offered to the market. Thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word, infectious disease expert, Dr. Benjamin Ko.